Van.
Thank you, President. My question is to the Minister for Home Affairs and Cybersecurity, Senator Watt. Minister, electric vehicles are crucial to reducing emissions and achieving our Paris targets. However, growingly, they are connected vehicles connected to the grid, posing a national security risk depending on their state of origin. The Australian Signals Directorate has released Secure by Design foundations to help technology manufacturers. As international standards move towards mandatory cybersecurity requirements, will the Australian Government consider incorporating these Secure by Design principles into legislation and/or regulation as required?
Thank you, Senator Van. Minister Watt.
Thanks, President, and thanks, Senator Van, for the question. I am aware that Senator Van is a supporter of the increased rollout of electric vehicles, which is also something the Albanese government has worked hard to increase. We know that, fortunately, we now do have a government that believes in electric vehicles, unlike what we saw for 10 years. It turns out that electric vehicles do not end the weekend. Who would have thought? Just as we never had $100 lamb roasts or a number of other scare campaigns that we saw for 10 years. So we've moved beyond that. We are now seeing electric vehicles roll out. But Senator Van's question is a serious one, and we obviously do take seriously any matter to do with national security, whether it's arising from these matters or anything else. Senator Van, you'd be aware that Australia has now passed significant reforms that will give Australians more choice around cleaner and cheaper cars. We're focused on giving Australians more choice. We will take advice from our security agencies on the matters that you've raised, and we will follow that advice. I have seen some claims recently by such eminent thought leaders on climate change as Mr Barnaby Joyce on these matters. He seems to be worried about imported batteries. The problem for the coalition is that when we put forward the Future Made in Australia package, that included $500 million to develop a battery manufacturing industry here in Australia, they voted against that as well. So they don't like imported batteries, they don't like homegrown batteries, they just don't really like batteries, and they certainly don't like a future, and they don't like it being made in Australia. They just don't like anything. I don't really know what they like. They don't want batteries, they don't want electric cars, they don't want climate change, they don't want change. They just don't want a lot of things. Senator Van, I know you're not in that category anymore, and we're happy to work with you further on these issues.
Time for answering has expired. Senator Van, first supplementary. Order.
Thank you, President. The Department of Home Affairs recently released the Protective Security Policy Framework that mandates government entities identify and manage risks associated with foreign ownership, control or influence in their technology assets. What else is the government doing to given the pervasiveness of devices connected to the Internet of Things, what else is the government doing to safeguard Australia's technology infrastructure,
thank you,
both
Senator
large and
Van.
small?
Your time for asking has expired. Minister Watt.
Thanks, President. Thanks, Senator Van. As you mentioned, there are a range of other issues arising when it comes to the security of newly developed devices, particularly when it comes to cybersecurity. The Albanese government is committed to keeping Australians safe and will make decisions based on our own interests and on the advice of our security agencies. Our government is monitoring the developments in the United States on connected vehicles, and the Department of Home Affairs here in Australia has been proactively engaging with the US government to understand the implications of any proposed regulation. Connected vehicles are an important part of our transport infrastructure and will provide significant benefits to Australia, but they also collect significant amounts of data which can be accessed by malicious actors. The Australian government is bringing forward a range of measures under the 2023 to 2030 Australian Cybersecurity Strategy to strengthen the nation's resilience against technology-related harms, and I'm sure that those consultations that are occurring with the US at the moment will add to that.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Van, second supplementary.
Thank you, President. Thank you, Minister, and for acknowledging what is happening in the US at the moment. I think they're seeing something that all countries should take notice of. But how will the Australian government address the risk from foreign-made vehicles, especially with those that are autonomous, but particularly those electric vehicles that we're going to need to meet our emissions targets.
Thank you, Senator Van. Minister Watt.
Thanks, President. Thanks, Senator Van. Well, as I say, we have these matters under active consideration at the moment, and in dialogue with the United States, about them. Unfortunately, we don't have an Australian car industry anymore. Just as we wouldn't have an Australian battery industry if the coalition had its way either. I know it is a little confusing to understand what the coalition's plan is on this, because we do have Mr Joyce out there saying that he doesn't like imported batteries, while we've got the rest of them saying they don't like homegrown batteries. And we saw Senator McKenzie, the infrastructure and transport spokesperson for the coalition, say it's not the coalition's plan to ban Chinese-made vehicles. So maybe the coalition's plan is to have no vehicles at all. They don't want to ban Chinese vehicles. They don't want Australian-made vehicles. Maybe it's back to the horse and buggy day under the coalition. We certainly know that's their approach when it comes to policy generally. But we'll be continuing to work on these cybersecurity matters.